Welcome to the Dream Journal. From the studios of KSQD in Santa Cruz, the Dream Journal is a weekly show where we explore the power of nighttime dreams through conversations with dream experts and with listeners like you.
In the house behind, the life you find is something understood. So there's love, those vital
A dream can be meaningful even if you don't know what it means.
We are not alone. Water over stone, even if you're by yourself.
There's lucid dreaming, there's drawing a dream, and then there's drawing a lucid dream. But have you ever done a drawing while you were in a lucid dream? Meet Dave Williams, an artist who conjures up paper and pen and doodles during his lucid dreams. Stay tuned for a mind-bending conversation about history, science, philosophy, and consciousness. I am your host, Katherine Bell of Experiential Dreamwork, and welcome to the Dream Journal. Well, let's go right into our guest, Dave Green. Thanks so much for joining us from the UK. Glad to have you here.
Hello, Katherine. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. So Dave Green is a London-based artist who creates simple line drawings in his lucid dreams, which he recreates upon waking up. Lately, he has been experimenting with giving his pen and paper to other people in his dreams to see what they create. His book is Doodles in the Dark, an artist's guide to lucid dreaming, and you can find Dave at dave-green.co.uk. Okay. So why doodle? Like, what is this about? Lucid dreaming. Lucid dreaming. Okay, lucid dreaming is a state where you know you're dreaming while you're dreaming. And it's kind of a goal for a lot of people who are in dreams, because it is very exciting. I've had a few myself over the years, maybe a dozen or two, and I usually just stumble into it. And it is a very exciting state. So I can see why people like to lucid dream. And maybe actually, before we even get to the doodling, why don't you tell a bit about how you started with lucid dreaming? I understand it was back when you were a child.
Sure. Yeah. So, my journey with it is, I think, quite similar to a lot of people that have lucid dreams fairly naturally. As a young child, I used to have nightmares, and I kind of taught myself to lucid dream, although I didn't know it was called that at the time, to handle these nightmares. So something bad would be happening in the dream, and I kind of figured out that if I sort of held my breath or did things like this, I could sort of wake myself up from the dream. I could realize, this is a dream, and wake myself up. And then at some point I thought, well, if this is a dream, then why? I don't need to wake up. I can kind of stay in the dream. And then I figured out you could kind of change things and kind of influence the content of the dream. And then years later, so that was just sort of a normal part of my dream life that happened every now and again. And years later, as a teenager, I heard the term lucid dreaming, and I recognized that as the thing that I experienced, and was like, okay. Did a little bit more research, realized that you could do techniques. So I started sort of employing them to sort of build on my natural ability, and had them more often. And and I was studying art at the time, and it just seemed like a natural idea to try and put this lucid dreaming together with the art. But when I tried to depict my lucid dreams, it was always really disappointing, because it never did it justice. So instead of depicting my lucid dreams, I would start making artworks directly in the lucid dream. So I'd be in the dream, find a dream piece of paper and a dream pen, and then create a drawing in the dream, and then wake myself up, and then make a copy of that drawing.
Okay. And so, the mostly what you create are doodles, not like complicated pieces of art. I've heard, and you tell in your book some stories about artists who actually see full-fledged, landscapes or whatever, imaginary scapes, and then they wake up and then they create that. But that's not what you do. You do what you call doodles. Why is that? What's that all about?
So, why is it doodles? So I think, like, what I really get a thrill out of is this idea of trying to make the waking life artwork as similar as possible to what I saw in the dream or what I created in the dream. So I like to make the images quite simple,
Mhm.
so I know I can recreate it faithfully upon waking up. Of course, there's still lots of stuff I don't remember, but I think it's I find that idea quite thrilling. Whereas if it's something really complicated, it would be much harder to do.
Right, right. Well, then I guess the goal would be to create the art in waking life, whereas you're kind of interested in exploring this relationship between you and the dream characters, the dream, like because then one of the things that you spend some time doing is actually conjuring up pen and the paper in the dream and handing it to another character and have them actually create a drawing. How did that occur to you to do that, and what's come of
Yeah.
that?
So I think I may have, yeah, I can't remember if I'd done it beforehand or not, but my main investigations into that were I did a study with a dream scientist called Antonio Zadra, who you may
Yeah,
know
I know.
from the
Okay. Mhm.
University of Montreal. And yeah, he is really interested in dream characters. So he encouraged me. We did a collaborative study together, basically. So I would go into all these dreams. I think I did it around 30 times. And I would come across a dream character. I would give them the pen and paper and ask them to draw. And they would do a drawing, I'd recreate it. And then I sent those to Tony over a series of years, along with the dream reports. And then he kind of wrote up a paper, sort of a
Mhm.
phenomenological study of those dream character drawings. And they are, and like since doing that, that's become one of my favorite things to do because it's, I mean, when you do what might not have been obvious from my initial explanation, when I do a drawing in the dream, I'm not really, I'm conscious of my intent to create a drawing, but I don't know what it's going to look like. It's always kind of surprising. Like I might draw just a circle or a simple shape, but then lots of other stuff just appears on the page on its own. So it's kind of out of my control what it's going to look like. But that being said, you can influence it a little bit. But when you get a dream character to do it, then it's really out of your control. You have
Right.
no idea what it's going to look like.
Okay.
So yeah, so that's always a really interesting thing to do.
Okay. Now there's in the book that you shared with me, this Doodles in the Dark, you show a bunch of pictures that you drew yourself in a dream, and then other pictures that characters in the dream drew for you. And
Hmm.
they often look very similar to my eye,
Sure, sure.
but with the
They do.
exception
They do.
that the other character dreams, the picture tends to be upside down because you're looking at
Yeah.
it from, right? Is that, or tell me, I didn't quite follow that. How does that, say more about that upside down thing?
Sure. Yeah. So I think that might become clearer later on in the book. So that was by a guy. Again, it was Tony's idea, and it was recreating a study done by a guy called Paul Tolley. Do you
Uh-huh.
know that guy? Is it Tolley or
No.
Foley? He was a German dream researcher, and he was interested in the idea that dream characters might be independently conscious of the dreamer. And so he got a load of lucid dreamers together. I think this was in the 80s or 90s, maybe. And he would get them to do various tasks, like he would get these lucid dreamers to ask their dream characters to write poetry, for example, or do maths equations to see how they react. And one of the things he did was to, like me and Tony did, get the dream characters to do drawings. But it was not, in that case, it wasn't for art. It was more in the context of the science experiment. So it is a bit tricky to understand. So what his idea was, you would go into a lucid dream, meet a dream character,
Mhm.
and if you were looking at this dream character head on, like if we're sitting on a Zoom call now,
Right.
we're kind of across each other on a table, a
Totally.
virtual table. And if you were drawing right now, if you were drawing a tree, for example, if I was to look at it from my vantage point opposite you, it would
Uh-huh.
look upside down, right?
Right.
And Paul Tolley's idea was, if that happened in a lucid dream, it might suggest that the dream character had their own vantage point on the dream. And to be honest, that was Tolly's idea. To me, that kind of just says that the dreaming mind is capable of conjuring something in line with our expectations. So
Right.
that was his thing rather than mine. And that might become clearer later on in the book. But it's still, it's still interesting. And
Well, there's like,
yeah,
but so then, I mean, so the character draws a dream and then hands you the piece of paper, and then when you wake up, you draw at what he handed it to you. Is that how that works? Okay.
exactly, yeah. But they do. You're right. They do look the same as my drawings, and
Okay.
that's someone, when the paper got peer reviewed, someone brought that up like, oh, these look like your drawings. And it's like, yeah, I wish they looked different. It would be more interesting if
That
they
would
were,
be interesting.
one's an oil painting and one's this, one's that. But yeah, they do pretty much always look like that. But the way I would say that is, the reason why is because, I mean, the dream character's doing the drawing, but because lucid dreaming is such like a two-way thing, right? It's like almost like perceiving things in a dream is, it's hard to explain, but the dream character makes it, but I'm still looking at it with my eyes, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
because a lucid dream, everything works on expectation. It's kind of like, I don't know, it's hard to explain it. It's
Well, let's follow that thread a little bit. I guess, or maybe a slightly earlier thread that I'm curious about this whole idea of dream characters, and are they actually different than who we are? And with your,
sure.
this I think is like one of the big questions about dreaming is there like some kind of outside influence that is populating some of our dreams, or are they all like parts of me, the parts of me? Whenever you're looking at a dream, you start, the crazy part of me, the part of me that's angry, but other influences on characters. And with your insight, do you have any sense of whether these characters are all parts of the dreamer, or are there some independent entities too? Do you have any sense about that?
I mean, it's so, I mean, I think this is like one of the most interesting topics in lucid dreaming. And I think everyone who's had a lucid dream and interacted with the dream characters at some point or another has asked themselves that question. Because although in a lucid dream you can influence things, the dream characters are the thing you influence the least. They very much do seem to have a mind of their own. But I mean, ultimately, it's like a philosophical question, isn't it? Ultimately, you can never answer whether they're conscious or not. But I think I relate to them as if they're a part of me. And I mean, it's interesting because I've heard some people say that maybe the way you framed it there was like, for a dream character to be conscious, it would have to be an outside influence. But like, have you seen that research by Deirdre Barrett about patients with a dissociated identity disorder?
I know Deirdre, of course, she's the president of the IASD right now.
Yeah, it was.
Tell me about this study. I don't know this one.
So it's back in, I think it's 1994, and she did a study with people who have a dissociated identity disorder, which used to be called split personality disorder. And to me, it's one of the most interesting studies I've come across. And basically, people with that condition can have will sometimes report the same dream from the perspective of from different perspectives within it, based upon which they call them alter personalities, which alter is being interviewed after the dream. So that sounds a bit complicated, so I'll explain in more detail how that works. So say, for example, you might have someone like who's the host personality, and they might have so they got two other personalities, like one's like an old man personality and one's like a little boy personality. And in the morning, if you interview them, oh, what did you dream about last night? If the old man personality is taking the helm at that moment, he might say, oh, I was dreaming about driving along in a car, and I looked out the window and I saw a little boy kicking a ball up against the wall, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then if later on that morning, if the little boy personality is taking the helm of the host, you say, oh, what did you dream about last night? And he was like, oh, I had a dream that I was kicking a ball up against the wall, and I looked over and I saw this old man driving by in a car. Okay?
Oh, very cool.
So that is, and they're often not the alters are often not aware of the other ones, so they're kind of independent of each other. So that's one mind in which two dream characters are independently conscious. So I think dream characters could be conscious. I mean, this is highly like
Right.
speculative, but they could, you could imagine a scenario where dream characters are conscious in the mind of
Oh yeah.
one person, where they are having, there is something it is like to be them. They're having experiences, but in the mind of one person. But so yeah, who knows? Yeah, I sort of explore that a little bit in the book. I don't come. I'm just talking around the idea. I don't come
Totally.
down hard on either way, but I find that idea really, really interesting.
Well, that really fits in with what I believe about dreams, that they're a way to have a conversation with myself. Like even in like common expression, we say, I'm of two minds about that. Like, I don't know I'm not sure, or I haven't decided. So I have two voices, and I have one wants me to do one thing, one wants me to do the other. And they're both totally valid. And I think in dreams, they often show up as different characters in the dream. And so maybe these dissociated people, they have these two parts of themselves that are actually fully developed personalities. But I think we're a little split personality in every dream, just by the nature of dreaming. I often dream about conferences and like support groups, or in therapy groups where I have like a whole circle of people, and like I have one point of view, but I'm willing to buy that every single one person sitting there is another
Sure.
part of me, another point of view that's inside my head. We're having a conversation. We're trying to figure out what's the best thing to do? What do we really want to do? Like, who feels the strongest feelings about this? And who has the history to say, don't do it. Like this is kind of fits in with one of my main theories about dreams, that there are this conversation between different parts of ourselves.
Interesting. Yeah.
And maybe some of those parts of ourselves can be influenced from outside. Certainly there's visitation dreams that people meet people, loved ones usually, who have died, and that a lot of people feel like these are actually encountering the souls or the spirits or the person who has died, and so that's someone outside of the dreamer. So certainly there's arguments that way, that some people have encountered characters from outside of their dreams. And I often feel like the dream itself is kind of holding me, or like inviting me into a relationship as a kind of a spiritual experience.
Sure.
So there's both the parts of me kind of thing, and then there's also influences from outside of me. Yeah. So this is a long way from Doodles, but this is great, because this is like the very interesting stuff, like the whole conversation about consciousness, and about whether consciousness and matter are separate or not, or whether they're interacting. Because like the Doodles, you interact with all the different characters in the dream. Because another thing that you do as part of your book is do dream portraits, that you draw someone's face in the dream. Or then I think, why don't you tell us about the technique that you just discovered about holding up the piece of paper, like to make a dream portrait?
Yeah, sure. So so that's one of the main things I do. I meet so I'll meet specific people in my lucid dream. People commission me to make a portrait of them. So I meet the person in my dream, and then I create a portrait of them in my lucid dream, which I then recreate. But because it's a dream, nothing works like you'd expect, and they look nothing like people. Sometimes they might have like a little face on them, but usually it's kind of abstract, or sometimes it won't be a face at all. It'll be sort of words, objects, stuff like this. And I like to think that, that might be based around sort of unconscious associations I have with that individual, right? And so the way I do it, because if you tried to draw, like if I was to draw a portrait of you now in waking life, I would look at you, and then I'd look at my piece of paper and look back and do. But because in a dream everything's changing so quickly, if I was to try and do that in a dream, by the time I look down at my piece of paper, it will look different, and then it just wouldn't work. So I just invented my own way to do portraits in lucid dreams, which isn't the way, it's just a way that I thought would be fun. So I get the piece of paper, I hold it up to the person's face in the dream, and I kind of will the paper to become transparent. So it's a bit like a camera, so I see your face through the paper in the dream, and then expect to see a drawing on the surface of the paper, and that appears. and then I recreate that when I wake up.
Mm. Okay. And so do you you say specific characters like people you know in waking life or historical characters, all that, I guess.
Yeah, so I started off just doing it for friends, and then yeah, and people would contact me online, and I'll do it for them. Yeah, I haven't done. I think I've maybe done a couple of historical characters, but not loads.
Uh-huh. Okay.
But I've done that
And
in the book a bit. I've got historical characters to do drawings for me. I did
uh-huh.
that in the book a bit. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. And then what was the way do you show these portraits to the people you know in waking life? Um I mean, what do they think? Do they resonate with some of the features? Because as you say, they're not representational always. Sometimes there's a facial kind of sense. Do they make sense to the people in any certain way?
Yeah, so people, yeah, people want to read stuff into it. I'm very like with all my drawings, I like when I just do them myself and the portraits. I for most of the time I spend surprisingly little time interrogating them for what they mean, which sometimes people find frustrating because inevitably they want to be, what does this mean about me? And I'm just like, it's art. I don't know what it means. And because yeah, it's funny. People do definitely. I've been making a video about this today, so it's very much in my mind that with doing those portraits, people inevitably, in retrospect, inevitably people treat it like a kind of psychic thing. Whereas I never really saw it like that. I just saw it like a just a cool idea that's just an art project, you know. But but quite a few people do see it that way, and but yeah, all I can say, I just make them and say, you know, it's open to interpretation. Yeah.
Okay. So before we have just a few more minutes before we go to the break, and I wanted to ask you about your experiences of meditating in dreams. I thought
Oh yeah.
that was found some fascinating information about that. I know that's the sort of gold standard of what to do when you're lucid dreaming, because we have sex, we can go fly, we can go talk to the monsters, we can do all kinds of things. But I look in the mirror, look at your hands, and all kinds of different things you can do. But you describe in the book, and I know it's a practice of Tibetan Buddhism, of Tibetan dream yoga, I guess they call it dream yoga,
Yeah.
of actually meditating in a dream. Now, do you meditate when you're awake? You do have a meditation practice?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I meditate when I'm awake, and yeah, so and then I just do the same thing when I'm dreaming. Are
Uh-huh.
we waiting to come back from the break, or shall I keep
No,
talking?
why don't you go ahead and
Oh
take
yeah,
a
yeah.
few minutes and talk about it now. I think it's very
So
fascinating.
yeah, so that's yeah, so it's like my favorite thing to do when I'm not doing the dream art stuff. I do, yeah, meditating in my lucid dreams. So yeah, I just do it like I would in waking life. I just quite find it. I actually sit on a chair, and I still do that in my lucid dream, which is totally not necessary because I probably could cross my legs in the dream if I wanted to. It's just force of habit. So I sit on a chair and just kind of follow my breath. And I don't know what I should say. This is just, I don't know how much this aligns with like the official
Mhm.
practice of dream yoga, because there's not much information out there really on it.
Just to say you're aware of your breath when you're dreaming, I don't know that I've ever really noticed that in myself. This might be interesting. Just to even notice your breath while you're dreaming.
Yeah, you definitely, you definitely could, because you could. I think that's one way to wake up from dreams that I do anyway, is hold my breath,
Yeah. Okay.
because it does. I believe that actually, if you hold your breath in a dream, you hold your physical breath as well in your physical body, so it can wake you up. So it sort of mirrors it. So yeah, I kind of watch my breath, and yeah, and just try and have a sort of detached attitude to the dream surroundings. And the way I think about it is, if you're meditating in waking life, you're trying to have that kind of detached attitude to your thoughts, right? Just watch them
Yeah.
go by.
Mhm.
But when you're in a lucid dream, the environment is your is your thoughts, right?
Right.
So you're having kind of a detached attitude to the environment, and it does kind of like give way and kind of settle down after a while, and the dream kind of fades away. But I've found, for me personally, I don't know what it's like for other people, but the dream characters quite often put up a bit of a fight, and they'll try and kind of get my attention. Usually by I don't really have nightmares generally, but when I do this, the dreams get quite scary, because it's almost like, the way I interpret it is, the dreams trying hard to get my attention, right? To try and keep me within the narrative of the dream. And I guess the best way of doing that is to scare me. It's quite effective.
Uh-huh.
But I try and just keep my resolve and try and sort of meditate through that. And then I sort of end up in a sleep paralysis type state sometimes, and that can get quite dark. And then basically by doing it, you just lots of new dreams keep popping up. It's like another dream, and you kind of meditate through that, and then another. So it's almost like rather than thoughts drifting through you, it's sort of whole dream worlds are like popping in, and you just sort of like trying to keep sort of meditating through them, basically. And it's tricky because you get sort of pockets in there of like a very deep meditation and kind of like a blackness. Some people call it the lucid void, and which is kind of deep meditation. But on top of that, the dreams you're meditating through, in my experience, is also, they're all usually quite powerful in their content, like very archetypal, I guess what Jung would call big dreams.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
like gods and like, what do you mean by archetypal? Just to say, like,
it's not necessarily so much the actual content, but more the feeling. I guess when you were saying at the start, it's they feel deeply meaningful, even if I was to describe it to you, but they might sound kind of ludicrous. But I mean, that's dreams for you, isn't it? But so they feel very deeply meaningful. And that's always a bit of a conflict for me, because I guess it's that conflict between like the sort of Eastern approach and the Western approach. I mean, this is massively simplifying it, but because the Eastern approach is always about cutting through, right? Like what's beyond the symbols, what's the, beyond that. And then, whereas Western has been more about like, let's analyze these symbols for what they mean. Let's concentrate on this. And it's sort of like because kind of both of those things are interesting. I don't know. So that experience is, I don't know. I'm still figuring out, but they're absolutely fascinating.
That is very cool. Well, thank you. Thank you. This is Dave Green, and we're talking about doodles in the dark, drawing in your dreams. So having a lucid dream and then making a drawing in the dream. Our guest is Dave Green, and you can find him at dave-green.co.uk. And I will let you know that the Dream Journal is broadcast live from the KSQD studios in Santa Cruz and co-broadcast in San Jose by KCXU. And we are podcast everywhere. I'm excited to share that we now have a full live video presence on YouTube. You can find them on Spotify and also on my YouTube page at Experiential Dreamwork. After this short break, we're going to get more personal. And actually, in particular, we're going to talk about the history of dream art. And just because we can do something in a lucid dream, should we? I'd like to find out. I have more questions for our guest, Dave Green, so we will be right back. All right, I'm sorry to let you guys know that today there are no call-ins. This is a pre-recorded show, but thank you so much for listening, and save your dream for next week when hopefully you can give us a call then. You are listening to The Dream Journal. I am Katherine Bell of Experiential Dreamwork. People all over the world, like our guest from the UK, are interested in their dreams. If you would like to help us nudge the algorithm to help spread interest in dreaming, please subscribe to the Dream Journal on your favorite podcast app. And thank you so much for your generous ratings and reviews. And thank you for sharing episodes on your social media. It all helps us all. But really, most importantly, please consider telling your friends about the Dream Journal. You might just find your next dream sharing buddy, and this show is all about sharing dreams. You can follow the Dream Journal on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube by looking for @Experiential Dreamwork. Our guest today is Dave Green, and his book is called Doodles in the Dark, An Artist's Guide to Lucid Dreaming. And you can find that anywhere. So we have our guest today, our second guest, Max is here, and I'd like to start to talk a little bit about the history of dream drawing. And I love this section in your book, Dave. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about some of the really ancient examples of dream drawing. So many people, when they look at the history of dreaming, they start with Freud. Like that's the first thing they talk about. But you went back to some Native Americans and and then even talked about the cave paintings at a place called
Lascaux, I believe you said.
Yes. Could you talk a little bit about those dream paintings and how long ago they were and how we think they're probably dreams?
Sure. Yeah, you're really testing me now because some of those facts I won't remember, but they're very old. Let's say they're very old.
Was that about like 10,000 from 50?
40.
Younger. Yeah, more like 40, 50,000. Yeah,
Okay.
and yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. I think the cave art stuff, people, because obviously we're never going to know exactly where they came from. Everyone takes their pet theories and kind of projects onto them. But one of the theories is definitely that they came from dreams. I mean, they look very, very strange. So they came from some sort of altered state of consciousness. That possibly could be dreams. And yeah, so I go all the way back to that. And then in the book, I kind of play around with it a bit because I kind of lace through the history of dream art my own lucid dreams. So I then tell the story about the cave art, and then I have a lucid dream where I go to the cave in my lucid dream and look on the walls and then recreate what I see there. So yeah, I think it goes cave art, and then I talk about ancient Egypt a little bit, and yeah,
The Sphinx, uncovering the Sphinx.
The Sphinx, yeah, and there's a big tablet there with a dream on it, and what else is there? And then yeah, the romantics I talk about, symbolism, surrealism, and yeah, that's my brief history of dream.
As I recall, you mentioned something about the Australian dream time, the whole concept of dream time, and that's something I know that Max is very interested in all this kind of. So what questions do you have for our guests?
Well, I've been researching the cave paintings for a long time too, since I was a little kid, actually.
Oh, wow.
And what I've heard from this guy named Lewis Williams, I think is his last name. It's a hyphenated name. He has this theory that the walls of the cave were like somewhat like a membrane. They've installed as a membrane to an altered state of consciousness, and that people would go into these caves down into the darkness and into the depths of the thing, maybe oxygen deprivation a little bit, and they would be having like a sort of a shamanic type experience where they would go out down there and deprive themselves of everything and become sort of receptive to the spirit world.
We've made possibly psychedelics.
They might have had psychedelics. Yeah. The psychedelics might not have been there. They might have just been the deprivation that they were experiencing. Mm-hmm. And that they would look on the walls and they would see this stuff in the walls because there's texture on the walls. And they would draw, and they would then use that to bring out the art that they wanted to see, they were going to see in their visions. It's a very interesting theory, I thought.
Yeah, that's interesting, definitely. Yeah, because I guess if it's like low light, you're going to start seeing stuff, and yeah, very interesting.
Yeah,
that reminds me of, was it Michelangelo that he'd look at like a wall where there'd be like stains and cracks on the wall, and he'd see a picture, and that kind of reminds me of that.
Yeah. Anyway, that whole theory came out pretty interesting to me. I thought I'd bring it up to you because also you said you're a lucid dreamer too.
Oh yeah.
And so, like, when you're lucid dreaming, do you find yourself fixed as you are in your waking life, or do you find yourself altered from the waking life sometimes?
How do you mean, like my body, or?
Yeah, your body, your limitations, whatever you have.
My body is usually pretty similar. Yeah, like I was saying to Katherine, when I meditate in the lucid dream, I still use a chair, even though I don't need to. So I guess, look, the habits kind of cross over. And so my body really stays the same unless I intentionally try to change it. For me, that's one of the more challenging things. In the book, there's a bit where I talk about, I tried to transform myself into a bird, and but it wasn't very successful. I had this idea, like I'd turn into a bird and I'd like feel like a bird, but I just felt like someone wearing a bird costume, and it wasn't very sensible.
Well, the listeners will know
say
Max. Max,
I don't-
go ahead.
So well, that's what
Oh,
I
well, I
was
was just
going
going
to
to
You
say,
said
the listeners know that Max have heard this conversation before, that lucid dreams pretty much in every dream. He's always aware of his dreams. And this is a kind of an unusual
that is
circumstance.
that is so fascinating. Yeah, I when you said that, I was like, I want to hear more from this guy. That's so every dream,
Pretty much every dream. I mean, there's a few of them that I wonder if I was lucid in it or not, but they're very few. So anyway, so when I'm dreaming, I can't change myself into something anymore really easily. But if I appears something in a dream, I might not be myself. I might be an animal of some kind. A dog is a very good one for me, like recently.
Mm-hmm.
And do you feel different when you're a dog?
A little bit, yeah.
You feel like a dog itself, not just wearing a dog suit.
Not just wearing a dog suit, no.
But do you feel like dog thoughts, or is it more like you feel your body feels totally different?
My body feels different.
Yeah.
Yeah, my brain, I can still think like I'm a human, sort of, more or less.
Mm-hmm.
But my perspective, it feels natural to be running on all fours.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever had a dream where you felt like, not necessarily an animal, although it could be an animal? Have you ever had one where you felt like you did inhabit the thoughts of another dream character, where it felt like you were another dream character? Have you ever had that?
No, I have not made that jump.
I had one of those in that study with Tony, and it took me a while to. I mean, it was interesting when I woke up from it, but it took me a while to realize how interesting that is. And I did a bit of research on it, and I found a paper on it. It's called vicarious dreaming, because you're kind of vicariously living through the life of the other person. And I was thinking, I think that might be one of the really underexplored, interesting dream phenomena, because it has all these interesting philosophical questions, like when I had that dream, I was asking the lady to do a drawing for me, and I was kind of looking over her shoulder as she did it. And suddenly my perspective shifted, and I was experiencing the dream as her, to the point where I could kind of hear, there was no Dave. I just, it's almost impossible to explain without experiencing it. I just was this woman, and my internal monologue was hers, and I was having thoughts. She was, in the drawing, there was like this tree in a field, and I/her was saying, "Oh, that's where I'm from," in like a different voice. And anyway, it's quite brief, but it's just so.
Did you see yourself? Did you see like Dave standing there? No.
I don't think I saw me, but I was aware, because we're kind of next to each other. I guess I was kind of aware that there was a Dave there. But I think like that, because there's so. If you get, I'm very much into the philosophical ideas around dreaming, and that idea of being someone else. And they talk about in that paper, I think it's just called Vicarious Dreaming. I can't remember who wrote it now. But it's like this idea of if I was in any real sense, if I was that woman, like how can I, Dave, remember it now? Do you know what I mean? If you know what I mean? Yeah, and it's all those similar ideas that they're exploring in sci-fi. Well, they've been exploring it in sci-fi for years, but now it's more reality. Total recall, and the idea of uploading your consciousness to a computer and all this. It's like, if you do that, how is it still you? It's all those type of ideas.
Well, I'm fairly commonly a different person in the dream, like a male or a female. For me, okay. I experience, but then often I have the experience of being both an outer perspective and also being the person in the dream.
Oh, interesting.
So I kind of write it down I/she in the dream, because I'm seeing myself from the outside, or the person who I inhabit. But it's me, sort of. It is me, but it's also I can see from the outside. It's like both, and
do you feel like you're still Catherine in a different body?
No,
or
I feel like a different person.
You know what I'm talking about? Yeah,
yeah, okay. Totally. I do. I feel like
That's very odd, because I haven't felt like that in a dream, I don't think.
Yeah.
I'm always myself too. I have this big argument with a friend of ours about dream ego's existence or not.
Yeah,
I think for me, I don't see a dream ego, a separate dream ego for myself.
Whereas I often have very different perspectives in my dream, and so it's interesting, the variety of dream.
You know all about it, then? Yeah, you know all about it. That's interesting. Yeah,
but
dream ego, Max?
but you don't always have, you're always old. You're not always have trouble walking.
Yeah, I might have Parkinson's or something like that. I might
Right.
not have it that day or something like that.
But you're always yourself.
I'm
Right?
always myself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait,
Except when you're a dog.
You're a dog. Well, if I'm a dog, I'm still myself. It's still sort of like
Yeah.
myself for some reason.
Yeah.
When I'm a
It's
dog,
inter-
that's all.
That thing of like, so that's interesting, Catherine, that, yeah, you experience that a lot. You kind of feel like you actually do feel like a different person.
Yeah.
But could you, if you were in a lucid dream, do you think you could bring on that experience intentionally, or it just happens by accident?
I'm so rarely lucid dream that I have not thought to try anything like that. I mean, so I mostly just fly or have sex. That's if I'm
Yeah,
in a lucid dream.
that's the two classics.
Yeah.
Because I've tried to bring it on again intentionally, but it's never worked. I end up like, I find a dream character and I try and get in their head and I just sort of like literally knock my
Yeah.
head against theirs. Yeah, it doesn't work. I can't do it again, but yeah.
Oh,
I
interesting.
have to try that now.
Yeah. Okay. That does sound interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, but this is like brings me to another thing that I was curious about. You mentioned this in passing, and I don't know how much you thought about this idea. But this is something Max and I talk a lot about, which is that whenever people start to lucid dream, there's like a whole list of things that you can do when you're dreaming, how to change the dream, and this and that. But Max has often argued that and that you mentioned this in your book, that the best thing to do, the most fruitful thing to do is to not change the dream and just stay conscious, but within the dream and see what happens.
Yeah.
And I wondered what your thoughts about it. Of course, the whole idea of doodling in the dream, you specifically have a task and you're doing the doodle. But you made this comment somewhere along there that like it's often a good idea to not influence a lucid dream.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've thought much about that.
Yeah, I think most people who have lots of experience of lucid dreaming have been doing it a while. I think almost everyone comes to that point of once you've done all the fun things or whatever.
Yeah.
Everyone gets to the point where it's much more rewarding just to sit back and sort of just see what the dream has to show you, because you still have this awareness that you are dreaming, but there's no need to. I mean, it gets a bit old. To be honest, it does get a bit old, all the trying to do this and do that. It's, I mean, the drawing is one thing. That's kind of a different thing, because it's sort of like, I kind of don't do that for fun. Well, I guess it is fun, but I don't know. It's hard to. There's sort of two separate parts of it for me. There's like the art part, and then there's what I do just for myself, which is
that's sort of cool, because that's getting something you could take out of the dream, where you have the experience of the dream sort of embedded in something physical after you after you get out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's I find that idea like really exciting. But if I was on a desert island on my own with no one to show off my cool dream drawings to, would I do that on my own? Probably not. I would probably spend more time doing the dream yoga stuff and
Yeah. What are our priorities with these lucid dreams, these special moments that we have? Because you make the point that they're really usually brief, and and I've talked to people though who there was a woman in particular I talked to who used to do a lot of lucid dreaming, but she stopped doing it because she found she was getting confused, and that she when she was awake she couldn't tell if she thought she might be dreaming, and so she was like. She was kind of like having trouble with reality, like understanding whether she was what was real and what was not real. And so she'd be awake and thinking it's a dream, and vice versa, I guess. And so she decided to stop trying to become lucid at all, because it was just too confusing to her, and she was feeling like psychotic almost.
Sure.
I have to take my hat off to her. She's a far more experienced lucid dreamer than I think I am. She can affect her own reality.
Oh, that's what she was saying, that her waking life was getting to be confusing, because it seemed the waking life was starting to seem dreamlike.
Yeah, I mean, I have heard that. I have heard that before. It's not something that's happened for me, but I have heard that happening. Yeah. So it can be a bit unstabilizing, but I guess just lay off it a bit. If that happens, just sort of take your
maybe if you
a bit.
tend that way anyway, if you have like a schizophrenic history in your family or something, or yourself, then there could be a little bit of a caution there.
Yeah.
Do you have any more questions?
Yeah, I do. I can't remember if it was in your your writings or somebody else, but they're talking about patterns that exist when you just sit there and you relax and look at your eyelids.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
Is that
Yeah, it's well, I talk about Kluver's forms, Heinrich
Uh-huh.
Kluver. It's related to that. I think that's like called entopic imagery.
Uh-huh.
Mm.
It's related. There's these different patterns like spirals and tunnels and cobwebs, and that they
Yeah.
come up in a. I talk about it because they're
Rings like snake, serpentine, things like that.
yeah. There's a few different ones, and yeah, I talk about in relation to altered states of consciousness. They turn up in like psychedelic experiences and even migraines and stuff like this. So I think it's related to the images on you when you have your eyes closed. I'm not sure if it's identical, but there's some theories that they're related to the brain, like the functioning of the brain, like patterns in the like what's the word for it? Is it endogenous?
Endogenous, yeah, or like the
Yeah.
inherent.
Yeah, to the brain itself. So yeah, that's quite yeah.
Right.
That's quite
Well, I mean, I
interesting.
guess our
But-
eyes actually have like cones and rods, and it's actually
Sure.
pixels basically, that we don't have like a single analog screen, that there's individual cones and rods that detect the light, and so maybe seeing a pattern. Because like when you close your eyes, like even right now, I can see like little speckles of red and black and yellow, and it's not like all one color. And if I watch that sometimes when I'm trying to meditate, I'm not a very accomplished meditator, that I kind of pay attention to those things, and they're different in each eye, which is distracting. But they're like, so maybe I'm seeing some of the pattern of my eye, of my photoreceptors.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I have one more thing to share with you.
Yeah.
So you do the stream art stuff, and I've done something very similar to it just recently. I had a dream where I was back contracting again, and I walked into a room, and there was a very archetypal customer for me, this guy that I knew in San Leandro, sort of. And he had a wall. He had a very well decorated room, and he had a wall that was all this vertical split lumber that had all these carvings on it. He thanked me for doing it enough, asked me how much he owed me. So I thought to myself, well, I did that. Okay, so I looked at it pretty well. Then when I came out of the dream, I thought about it, and I went, I should do that. So I did do it. And so I actually saw it in the dream, came out, copied it, more or less, on the thing. But not exactly, because it was a whole wall, and I was not going to do a whole wall with the carving, so I did a little bit of one. But also, one of the subjects in the wall was another dream that I had.
Huh.
Oh.
And you saw that in the dream, the reference to the previous dream?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I actually fairly often
dreams that you could remember, or it was more like just the knowledge that these are previous dreams.
Well, I can remember it.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I have certain landscapes I go back to, and I see different parts of it in different dreams over the years.
Oh, nice.
And then for the odd patterns too, like, we have a lot of redwood and pine up here. When you strip the bark off, you get these little bug paths underneath there. You sit there and stare at those things long enough, you can convince yourself you've seen it before, but I'm a little bit skeptical about that. But I think the endogenous stuff is pretty cool.
So you have made art from your dream of something that you made in the dream, and then we came
in the other room.
And that was when you showed at the art reception at the art show at the Festival of Dreams, right, in October.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
I never realized that's kind of what you do, Dave. Take the art back.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you could make an intention, Max, about creating something in your dream, and then.
I think so. I didn't think I need to whip out that pencil and paper you get out there. Hand it off to some people and see what they come up with.
Can hand them a chisel and a screwdriver, piece of wood.
Yeah.
Whatever art form you do. Okay. Any other questions, Max?
Nope.
Okay, this is great. Dave, do you have anything else you want to discuss in the last few minutes of the show? Anything that we haven't touched on that you'd like to bring up, or?
Yeah, I guess, well, we've mentioned the book lots of times, haven't we? I guess that's, I should plug that. It's coming out on May 14th. Although, frustratingly, I'm not sure if we discussed this, but my book deal is only for the UK. So, but maybe we could, what I've decided to do is, if people in America would like a copy for now, what they can do is email me through my website. So that's dave-green.co.uk. And in lieu of me getting an American deal, which might take a while, you can just email me and I'll do your signed copy, and we can
Yeah.
sort it out on there, and then I'll post it. So then you can get a signed one. Yeah. If
Okay.
anyone wants one. Yeah.
That's great. That sounds wonderful. So it's not going to be like on, I hate to say Amazon. Ooh.
It is on Amazon, but only the UK Amazon. So you could,
Ah,
if you wanted to, in America, you could buy it off the UK Amazon, but the shipping's quite expensive. So my point is, if you're going to do that, you may as well get it off me, and you'll get a signed one. So it will be a bit expensive, but at least it'll be signed, right?
okay. Yeah. Yep. That's good. All right. That's excellent. Thanks, Dave. And what is your future? Do you have any plans? What are you looking to do? Is it either in your dreams or in waking life? Because I've also understand that you're a comedian. Are you going to go back on the stage and do some stand-up comedy?
Yeah, so I haven't done stand-up for a
Look up
while.
camera.
I kind of transitioned from a stand-up comedian into doing this lucid dream stuff. But yeah, as the book's being released, I've got quite a few live talks coming up in London. So sometimes they're a little bit funny. So I think that will maybe the two things will kind of merge again. So I'll do live talks about my lucid dreaming art that might be a bit funny, but I don't know if I'd call them stand-up, but it's still that live performance, scratching that live performance itch, let's say.
You did some stand-up comedy in your lucid dreams, I suppose.
People have suggested that. Yeah, it's I'm not sure. The jokes are often so strange they don't necessarily read as jokes, but it's
And an invitation to your cafe where you're performing next, and I'll show up in your dream.
okay, yeah, I'll see you there. Yeah.
Some mutual dreaming. Excellent. So, Dave, do you have any last-minute thoughts or encouragements for our listeners?
Yeah, I guess if anyone wants to experience lucid dreaming themselves and they haven't really tried it yet, I guess the main thing that helps me out is just to be really excited about it. Just go to sleep thinking about it and thinking about what you want to do, and often that can be the way. A lot of times people, the first time hearing about lucid dreaming, will have their first lucid dream. So if that's you, good luck.
Hope so. Wonderful. Thanks, Dave. Great to have you on the show.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you all for listening. The Dream Journal is produced at the studios of KSQD in Santa Cruz, and we are live every Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific at ksqd.org. The podcast is released on the Monday after the show. It spreads interest in dreaming when you subscribe, rate, and review. I am Katherine Bell. You can find out about my dream coaching practice at experientialdreamwork.com. You can email me at Katherine@ksqd.org. Follow Experiential Dreamwork and hashtag the Dream Journal on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn and YouTube to keep up with the shows. I'd like to thank Rick Kleffel, engineer and music creator. Audio editing by Suki Wessling. Phones by Eric Nelson. Intro and outro pieces are both by Mood Science. And tomorrow morning when you wake up, take a minute to write down your dream and bring it to the next Dream Journal.
There's a time in our life, all the husbands and wives, all the boys and the girls, and everyone in the world knows that so much is wrong, but much more is right. We see in the darkness shall